NBA 2K18 tutorial number 38. This is probably my favorite tutorial of all time so far. So today is going to be interesting. I will be teaching you guys, or showing you guys how I do online play calling and how I develop a scheme for a team that I like to use. So I consider this as an entry-level tutorial of how I prefer to play seriously, user versus user. I will be showing you guys how I set this up. We'll be using the Pelican scheme as I have shown you guys lately. And I'll also teach you how I like to play call with such a scheme over the course of a 20-minute online game. Now, we will be using the 76ers in these gameplays against teams with better rosters. These gameplays were my first game with the 76ers, so this will actually allow me to show you the process that I usually go through to develop, complicated strategies for an entire team that I want to familiarize myself with. And I actually consider this process to be very interesting. You will see by the end of the tutorial of how I call and prepare for a game while developing with a team that I don't really know how to use, or I'm just beginning to learn how to use. So in this case, the 76ers. So in a general level, I am using the Pelican scheme I'll be showing for you guys, and I'll be using it for the Sixers, and my goal is to make Simmons the star. My strategy is to split the floor and simply let Simmons create. So I'm going to give him an extremely high usage rate. You can consider this as a strategy 1, or strategy number 1 that I will be developing for the Sixers. Normally for a team, I prefer to have, at least 3 to 4 strategies for a specific roster. But in this case, I'm only showing you guys one strategy because this is actually me just beginning to learn how to use the Sixers and what I choose to, develop for them. So we'll be only talking about strategy 1. So to execute strategy 1 for the 76ers, this is my setup for a Simmons focused attack. You're gonna give Bayless and Redick both pick and roll ball handler. Not that you're gonna do it with them, but it's just this will allow Simmons to run the entire Pelican scheme. So a tutorial number 34, 35, 37. Just also make sure you give Simmons the play you see there, the handler, cutter, and handoff, and handler for Bayless and Redick. Okay? So this is game 1 versus a Raptors user. We went 17 of 22 in field goal percentage, and I ran plays about 90% of the time, and every action went through Simmons. By design, he was being overused. Like I said, I don't prefer to do it this way, but this is my process of developing multiple strategies for the team, and I'm trying to develop the first strategy here. So you will be seeing me running way too many plays with Simmons and using Simmons way too much. It's just I'm trying to develop the strategy, right? This is pretty much me labbing a strategy. So first possession for me is always the toughest to run because you see there I'm setting up the POEs, the freelance, and the focus. This just wastes time, so I can't really do anything outside of running a, tell Simmons to come up and just run a middle pick and roll, because after I set up all the stuff, I'm running out of shot clock. So I hate this. It's a 2K thing because I can't set this up pre-game, so I hate that. So, but with that said, so you can see me get into the strategy 1 in earnest here. I have decided to run the play from tutorial number 34 like I showed you guys. This is the give horn 5-3 fist with the pump fake into the flush, and against a user with someone like Simmons, this is effective. He probably would finish, but even if he doesn't, he'll draw fouls. And you can see me call a play again. Like I said, I'm trying to develop the strategy here, so I'm going to be calling plays 90% of the time. And this is the fist 9-1 gift from the tutorial from yesterday if you want to check that out. And you can see it worked out excellent as planned where we beat the user. So once again, the offense is moving well here, and this is by the end of the first quarter. You can see I actually play very slowly because I actually like to play 48-minute games offline, as many of you already know. But online is 20-minute games, but I don't change my pace. This is just the pace I play. And to end the quarter, you can see me call a play here, but I'm not calling it to run it. I'm just calling it for better spacing so I can finish the possession. I always do this at the end of the clock. I suggest you guys do it too. Just call the play for the spacing, but don't call it to run it because you don't have time to run it when it's 8 seconds left. But I call plays with spacing sometimes if I'm in a rush. So here in the beginning of the second quarter, I have committed to running a fist 3-5 flow. So tutorial number, I think 35, just for Simmons. So that's why I gave a pick and roll ball handler to Redick and Bayless. And you can see me just running 3-5 flow and throwing back into Warriors motions here, all through Simmons again, and it's working. And you can see me do it again. It's like I'm committed to this. So like I'm trying to develop a strategy here where I think going into the second quarter, well, not so much the second quarter, but like the second 5-minute cohort, I will be running a lot of free fire flow just to throw off the other user from Reddick because he can really shoot. And I'll also sneak in a couple of counter plays that give 5 free horns, less pick and rolls in the second quarter. Mostly free fire flow though, and if it breaks, I'll go into something else. But you can see this play does work decently here. We're ready to get into the paint. Simmons is very good for this, so this is a good choice by me initially. But I do break back into a free fire flow here because this play, it works pretty well. It's not too slow and it's very safe, and it gets multiple shooters involved. Like there's a Bayless option there. If he's open, he isn't, so I work it back to Simmons, and this allows me to run that middle Warriors motion cut pick and roll, which is very deadly, as I showed you guys this year. Excellent spacing, great finish by Simmons, and you can see strategy 1 is working. We are pretty much 11 for 12 here for the first about 8 minutes of the game, but because it's at the 8-minute mark, so I gotta, you know, bring in the bench to play the last 2 minutes. So this is just a rotation I've decided to use. I'm not very familiar with the roster, like I mentioned. Like this is my first game with the Sixers online in this gameplay. So I decided to just go with the very simple, you know, 5 on, 5 off kind of strategy where I just sub 5 guys on and 5 guys off. I don't like doing this, but like I said, I haven't really developed the other strategies yet. So this is what I went with my first game with the Sixers. I decided to make the bench focus on Okafor, so I ran a lot of low post plays here just for Okafor to get him going. I haven't showed you guys this money play yet, but I will down the line. This one is very good, but I have showed you guys this one. This is punch rip 4 hammer from tutorial number 19, and I decided to use this because this involves a lot of the shooters, because I have Bayless and Stauskas as my wing guys, and I'm gonna RC cut Anderson after the hammer screen, so this is very deadly. And you can see me run the play here back to back. I actually don't like doing this. I normally try to avoid this as much as I can, especially for low post plays. But like I said, this is just me developing a strategy and processing for a team. I run the same exact action too, so that I hate that. But I missed it. But this is just because I don't know what to do, because I just started using the team. I also decided that was enough Okafor because I ran back-to-back play with the same action. So I went back to the free fire flow to get Beta as a free, and it worked out exactly like I designed it for you guys. So as you can see, it does work online. It's just, this is how I call a game. And by this point in the third quarter, the starters are back and Simmons came back. So with the starters back, I decided to, you know, just don't go with so many plays because I've been running pace 90%. So I go back to the Warriors middle pick and roll to start the possession, not to break into it from a play, just to throw the other guy off, and it worked. And by the end here, I'm doing pretty well, beating him by 12, double digits. So I decided to run a play I haven't ran all game. So I like to do this. When I have a big lead, or double digit lead, I'll sneak in a fist rip 5-4, I think, 3-5. So throw the user off, as you can see. You couldn't take it anymore, and we got our first rage quit of the day. And this is game number 2 versus the Blazers. 17 out of 24 with field goal. Once again, I ran plays 90% of the time because I'm developing the strategy and I'm trying to see if these plays do work. And I decided to also add in a few double screen plays because I didn't do that in game 1. But this is still very Simmons heavy by design, and I haven't really utilized anything for Embiid yet. Joel Embiid. Gonna say that correctly. Like, I prefer to use him. It's just, like I said, I'm developing strategy 1 here, right? So nothing for Embiid. As you can see from these gameplays, it's very Simmons. And it's got the same exact play setup for the Raps game. And unlike the previous game, starting off against the Raps, I have a terrible first possession this time. Because once again, the problem is I'm setting up these POEs and these freelancers, just throwing me off, not in flow. I ran a pick on the wrong side, like, noob move, Sam. Noob. I should have used the motion cut branches here, but I got stubborn and I ran a middle pick and roll again like a noob. I made the shot, but I don't deserve it. That was an ugly possession. This always happens to me in the first possession because, like I said, 2K won't let me set up the stuff before the game. I hate it. So, more double screen focus. I didn't really ran that many double screen in the first game, so I decided to Simmons again with the fist 2-6 side like I showed you guys yesterday with tutorial number 37. And we executed well, and it's worked just by design where we attack the second hash defender and hurt him. I decided to go with more plays. This is tutorial 23 to number 31, and we just ran a 5-out pick and fade with the Warriors motion cuts. And beginning of the second quarter, I decided to, I think I might do this from now on. I started to adapt to the fact that I want to run flow 3-5 in the second quarter. So in the second 5-minute section, I want to run lots of flow 3-5 for Simmons just to get the rest of the team going. He gets the rebound there. I bobbled it, but it's a good shot either way. I got a good shot and a good offensive rebound. I missed, but I like the way it's going, so I've pretty much committed to this. You can see me just keep running fist flow 3-5 in the second quarter. The different variations of it, right? Because the good thing about this playset is that it doesn't look like the same thing all the time, and it isn't the same thing all the time. You have multiple options, so it's good flow. And once again, we're at the second quarter, second minute mark. Close game this one because I missed a lot of open shots. And you can see I have gone with the 5 on 5 off again because I'm not really familiar with the team yet. But we're sticking with the Okafor heavy strategy where we used to play from tutorial 19. The Rip 4 hammer with a lot of Okafor focus. This is still a good play because it's got multiple options. You can see us beat the front there and go to the 2 guard. So that's an action I have shown you guys in the money play tutorial, and it does work against user. As you can see, we're actually shooting a way better field goal percentage than he is. But he made a lot of crazy threes with CJ and Dame. So that's just the way it is because he's got a better backcourt than I do. But we still have the lead and we're doing well. I'm running the Rip 4 hammer again, but I'm running it with different options. So this time we're not doing the cuts. We're going to do the RC cut instead on the opposite side. Same thing we did in the Raptors game, but that was the first time we did it in the Blazers game, so it worked out for the option. Bayless did good here. He stole the ball, and that was able to get us a 7-point lead in going into the second quarter. I'm shooting a way better percentage. I'm up by 7, but this is just a sign that I will blow him out if the game goes longer, because the games are like I'm up by 7 in 10 minutes, so that's pretty good, and I'm shooting 20% better. So this just goes to show that the strategy one of using lots of Simmons and having Okafor lead the bench units, it is producing well. So I should stick with this strategy as one of my strategies for the Sixers down the line. And beginning in the third quarter, I have decided to run more fist flow 3-5 for Simmons because this is just a deadly play, especially for Simmons, and the multiple options. A user just can't adjust to it because, like, look, I did the katana cut, nothing, so I go back to the middle pick and roll, and this allowed me to get into the paint, get Embiid deep in there, who I haven't really been utilizing, but he is very good, so I do look forward to developing more for him. And you can see me use tutorial number 34 here, which is to give 3-5 horns fist. So everything from the Pelican schemes, as you can see, is working. Like, I'm shooting an insanely high field goal percentage. Like, the shots that I'm missing is just I'm missing open shots. But everything else is working. This play against user draws a lot of fouls because, like I said, online it's not Hall of Fame, so you're gonna draw way more fouls. And I decided to add in more double screens here to get in the first 91 give. We're up by 6 with 3 minutes to go in the third. So the double screen glitches the second hash defender. He hashed himself, which glitches the pop guy. So we got wide open free for Covington. See, I told you guys in the previous tutorial, that play is glitched. If you want to use it, you can watch the previous one, but it is very problematic. So here is another money play from the Pelicans scheme I haven't showed you guys. It actually broke there. The user defended it well. But just because of play break doesn't mean I can't attack out of it. I get Embiid the ISO, and he's just so good in the post. Like, I gotta develop the second strategy for him. So pretty much in this game, the second game, I realized I need to develop strategy number 2 for Embiid, but that's down the line. Once again, we're at the second 2-minute mark at the end of the quarter. So I decided to bring in the bench again. And at this point, you know I have committed to this. Like, bench unit for now. I'll probably rotate it better down the line, but to develop this strategy one, I'm pretty okay with this Okafor hammer focusing because I only gotta do this for 2 minutes, right? Like, I'm not doing this for too long until I bring my starters back. The RC hammer cut didn't work as well, but we swung it back around. We got an open shot for McConnell, and that's a shot he can hit. And he's not a very good player, but he can hit that, so that's good. And same thing, but you see different results, right? This time we're just holding the ball, get it back to Anderson on the RC, nothing, kick it back to Okafor, get that ISO going, back to Warriors motion cuts, excellent spacing, attack off the catch, still works. Okafor is a very excellent post player, so that's always good. Here's another money play that I haven't taught you guys, but you can see it does work pretty well. The play didn't get the ideal result because it is user, but then we were able to get the ISO spin move going, and Okafor is just so good in it. He missed it, but that's a good look, so I don't mind that. At this point, the starters are back, so I decided to get in more double screens because that was the agenda I had when I started this game. Like, I'm not trying to play super optimally here. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do for the Sixers, and Embiid is getting more ISO now. You see, like, in the previous game against the Raptors, I wasn't very comfortable using Joel, but you can tell in this game and the way I play call, it's, you know, it's working well. Here is a 5-out pick and fade. We get it to Redick, swish bomb. So the development you can see here is that I know the plays work for Simmons, obviously, crazy percentage. But at the same time, I'm starting to catch on, like, if the play breaks, then I can go to Joel. So now I'm beginning to find a role for Joel, maybe in strategy 2. So this is actually very fun. This is the process. We get ready to open free, out of flow 3-5. Excellent execution. And we get another rage quit. So at the end, I know some of you, a few of you asked me to, show more online gameplay and give commentary to it, and that's what I'm trying to do today. So if you enjoyed this, let me know. This is how I like to develop strategy and lab plays for you guys. Like, this is why I know the plays work, because I do take it online before I show you guys a tutorial. It's just I show you offline footage to show you where the bricks are, and then I'll show you these online footage to let you see the minor differences that happen. But the essence, the key, right, is success rate. Success rate is important, and you can see the success rate of the play against humans or computer is very high. We kill Jonas here with the 9-1 gift from tutorial number 37. Now, if you ask me to rate this gameplay, this would be like a D. It's not because I lost. Like, I won. I got rage quits. It's not about that. It's just I didn't really use enough strategies here. Like, I killed Simmons. Like, I overused him. Like, his users rate in these games are so high. I didn't finish any of the games because both users rage quit, but I think at least both games I got to the third quarter mark, I think. So about 15 minutes. Let's say 15 minutes. So that's essentially, to me, that's a quarter and a half of Simmons, right? Because I play the game with a 48-minute mindset. I don't play these games with 20-minute mindsets because I don't like to do a lot of PlayNow. I play a lot of PlayNow online for labbing purposes, but to me, true competition, comes from local play in 48-minute games against like my friends who are all very, very good at 2K because I've been forcing them to learn from me all their lives. But besides the point, so to me, this is pretty much me using Simmons for about 12 minutes, so a quarter of NBA action. And I think this is pretty much overusing him because I'm underusing Joel, like Embiid. Like, I think I'm using Redick and Bayless excellently, as you can see, because I'm letting Simmons feed it to them. I also feel like I did pretty good with Okafor, but the problem with the Okafor situation is I shouldn't do 5-on-5 off because the Sixers are not deep enough for that, for one thing. Like, they're just not deep enough for 5-on-5 off. Like, that's a bad strategy on my part, but that's just because I haven't really developed enough for it. Like I said, first 2 games of Sixers here. Down the line, I think the rotation I would do, if I continue to use the Sixers, I'll probably take off Joel earlier because right now, the way I run it is that Simmons and Joel always play together, and I don't think I should do that. I think Joel probably should be rotated into the second unit to help out Okafor and Saric in them. Oh, Saric, I should have mentioned that. I'm totally underutilizing Saric here because I don't know what to do with him. So that's another thing I would probably work on if I want to develop optimal gameplay, right? Like, what you see here obviously looks really good and I'm playing really well, but to me this is not optimal at all. Like, this is bad in the sense that it's not versatile enough and it's just too Simmons focused. The plays I would say are excellent, like the plays I'm calling and using are excellent, but running plays 90% of the time, obviously when the plays are this good and there's so many options. Look at that RC cut out a hammer, that's nasty. Like, if you can run a play that good, oh, it's gonna work, believe me, it's definitely gonna work. But doing it 90% of the time like I did here is not good, but I was developing to see what kind of plays work for this team, so that's why I did it that way. Over time, I think when I really know a team in optimal gameplay, I probably only call plays about 30% of the time, 30 or 40, and I would only call them on the timeouts because it's actually better to attack in transition if I get a defensive stop and if I get a miss, But obviously, like, the Sixers don't have enough playmakers, so maybe with them I do need to call more plays, but definitely not 90% of the time, so I hated that here. So this is the process of how I play and how I develop strategies. I prefer to get better every game I play with a team. Like, one game after the other, I prefer to get better and better. So that's why when you guys use my tips, it works because I put in a lot of work to develop everything. And as you can see here, we got plenty of wins against teams that are much better than us and much deeper. But still, there's still more for improvement in terms of 2Ks, and that's how I want to explain to you guys. So if you enjoyed this kind of tutorial, let me know. As always, thanks for coming by. Obviously this was only the offense. I'll also show you guys how I approach defensive strategy or defensive coordinating in online gameplay in a similar fashion. So maybe I'll show you guys that sometime in the week. And yep, if you enjoyed this, add me a like. Thanks for coming. Have a good weekend, and I'll see all of you next time.